Morning, everyone. Otsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is Knowhere Market Updates for August 9th. And so we're here. We're going to look at some coins. This is the longer form video. So this is a YouTube link today. I can't put these on Discord. They're just too long. And I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I know you guys like the embedded videos. And sometimes I can do those. Sometimes I cannot. But I appreciate the flexibility, just as I have tried to be flexible, trying to make these sound more appropriate and sound clearer, and etc. etc. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. There's no preliminary things, honestly, other than just Knowhere Premium. If you haven't joined and you want to sign up for that wait list, I'm going to start in like 2 weeks and get that kind of rolling. Other than that, let's just go ahead and get started. Now, seeing this is kind of a weekly update, I'm going to focus on a lot of stuff that I've already put on the charts for technical analysis, so I don't have to rehash everything, because by now everything we're used to the price action that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of other coins are giving us, and we're even going to some other alts, and I'll get into that, why I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, although it is, you know, in like Moons, for example. I know that Moons has went up, and I'm glad, because it's gone up 400%. That's a big deal. I have Moon coins myself. That being said, it's not always percentages, and I explained that in another video, where your risk tolerance is much, you know, it depends on your risk, so to speak. And I'm not, you know, that's a different topic. We'll get into that a different time. But let's go ahead and go to Bitcoin and see what's going on with it. So right off the bat, I do want to mention that I got some technical analysis already up here. I don't feel the need to rehash some of this, because we talked about it on Mondays and some of the market updates. I'm going to give another mini market update later today, so we got that going on as well. A lot of other things. This is going to be a 12-hour, one-day type of time frame, and then the mini markets are kind of 4-hour. But with Bitcoin, we see here we had the wedge that we broke out of, and I had mentioned that, one, I knew this was here. And my original proposition was that we would wick down and then continue higher. Now, that hasn't been the case. We actually broke above, like, and we should. I do want to preface that to say, like, there's nothing magical about this. And it wasn't like I was wrong per se. And I don't really care if I'm right or wrong about these things. I'm just looking at the patterns. Now, typically, these falling wedges should break above like they did. And I can kind of zoom this in. I probably should, so you can see it better. That we broke above this line, and I did mention that even though we got the impulse to the upside, that we could see a downside rejection first, and that's exactly what we got today. And nothing has really changed by this, and so that's kind of what I want to mention. This is a buying opportunity. We are basically at the entry level where I was when I entered the long for Bitcoin for Knowhere in the portfolio trades, and I'll always keep an update if anything changes. If I have not made an update, you can assume that things have not changed until I change them. But one thing we can see is that we are back to our entry, basically. It's not round trip per se. Like, I think that's a really dumb way to analyze things, to be honest with you. I'm just going to start being more based about how I present those. I think that's a really dumb idea, because trades always go back to entry. They go back to entry so commonly. It largely depends on the type of trades that you do, because some people, like me, I trade within a range. Like, that's why you develop a position. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my tactical trading part 1 video. I'll probably try to link that above, since I put this on YouTube, and that way you can look at it. But I explained that there's 2 different types of traders, right? There's people that are kind of like me. For example, when I enter a trade, I know that the price could go anywhere within my stop, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay waiting until my position goes to its full stop, even hands tied behind my back, so to speak, because that's how I play these positions out. Some people don't. Some people want an immediate reaction, and if they don't get the reaction, they close it. And I appreciate those people, and there's a lot of good traders that do the second option. But the thing is, a lot of people can't do that either. It's much more uncommon. And if something goes up impulsively like this and it goes back down, well, now you cut your trade. Now, what if it comes back? Because there's no indication for me to say that this is weak. Like, this is not weakness per se. Just because you have one red candle does not mean it's a weak candle. And so that's where subtrends come in, and that's where the A rune comes in for me personally. And so we can see that as well. We got the RSI still above the 50. We got the bearish consolidation, so that's normal. That means we're going to have a sub trend that's bearish while we're trying to go upward, and we're going to see which one wins. And so until the bearish price action becomes the main trend, I'm okay with this long. I think this is perfectly okay. So other than that, nothing really much said. So I'm honestly looking for a local high touch, probably at the close, not at the wick, which would be 31,500, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at. Or we could see the drop back to 27,800, which I've been anticipating, and I'm okay. I understand that my long will get invalidated if that's true, and I'm okay with that because I'll just long at 27,800, and I'll try to make that up. So that's Bitcoin in a nutshell. I don't want to focus too much on it. That's really the gist. It has done very little in comparison to other coins, but it's also a safer coin, and that's what I want to mention as well. Like, you don't have to go chasing different coins, right? Like, it's okay to just focus on a few of them, even the main ones, and then increase your risk accordingly, and deal with that. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. Let's go on to the next. All right, so going on to Ethereum. I won't spend much time on Ethereum, Solana, and XRP because nothing's really changed as well. We got the same chicken scratch that I had before. We pumped a little bit, but we're still within the range. I'm looking for that red trend line or this touch here at 1783, which is where I placed it last week or earlier this week, I believe. And so anyway, we're waiting for that. It's as simple as that. Now, that being said, today is August 8th. And the apex of this, honestly, the apex is probably September 8th, but the entire point is going to be September 30th. So we're going to see something here, guaranteed a major move with Ethereum within the next 30 to 45 days. So I just want to keep that in mind. If something big is going to happen, and that's where you need to have the conviction, because this is a boring price action. You're waiting, but you need to make sure when the time comes that you do it, right? So figure out what side you want to be on, figure out the reaction to the price coming up, and be convicted in that selling point. Right now, my focus is on the downside. This is a little bit weak right now. The slope on this trend line is way too tall for me, and we're still rejecting the RSI on the 50. So that's where I kind of see that. We are kind of having a bullish consolidation on ARUN, but that could change at any time. Once we get a new low, it could change. So I think I'm a little bearish on Ethereum, but I'm still waiting for the reaction overall. So that's Ethereum. All right, Solana is up next. And, we're a little underwater right here, but no big deal. This is something that we looked at and kind of have a bearish divergence on the 4-hour, which isn't really what I want to see. We'll cover that more in the market update. But, the rejection, it's not really rejecting per se because that wick is pretty strong. I've looked at this before, and I can see here that this area at 2405 to 2423 could very likely hold. So as long as that holds, that divergence will actually turn into a reaccumulation because this still looks reaccumulative. When you have a big impulse and then a bearish divergence, that doesn't mean necessarily that that's going to diverge. It can. Now, when I look at divergences, I look at high time frame divergences only. One way that you can tell that this could be reaccumulating is looking for a hidden bull div, which we actually have. So we can go up here. There's a higher low, and then you have a lower low on the RSI. That's a hidden bull div. Now, a lot of people don't put any faith into hidden bull divs, and I understand why. We tend to look at indicators by themselves, RSI, ARUN, EMAs. We tend to look at them by themselves and not with confluence with other things. But when you have a confluence with a hidden bull div and a bearish div, that ends up being a bullish chop, so which is reaccumulation. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a touch here as low as $24 even, and then a bounce higher. I think it looks pretty good overall. This wide bearish ARUN consolidation is a little bit concerning, but this is going to level out here in about 3 candles, which is about 12 hours. So within 24 hours, we're going to see a major reaction to that. And if it's not bearish, I think this is good to go. So anyway, I still like Solana. I think it could go up to 2650 probably by the end of the week. So, all right, XRP is another one that's on our list. And, I mentioned on that 4-hour that we could, that divergence could play out. It has, and it's gone up ever since. So that's something I want to keep in mind. If you should have gotten out of the long if you were longing this. I don't think it was personally on my trading profile list, but it's gone about 5 to 6% depending on where you got in at. If you got in on the wick or wherever, I usually do the lowest closing bullish candle to kind of give more ample room for a conservative trade. So that's about 5.6% move up ever since. Doesn't look like the steam's out just yet. We could see a touchback, however, on this liquidity tap zone at 63.9. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to long this, it is possible to do so, I think. Especially now that this is reclaimed. I would probably put my entry somewhere at 64.3, 64.4. Maybe put my stop below this median level here at 62.30. So that means my stop would be 61.8. So I know I'm saying a lot of numbers if you're only listening and not watching it, but I'll just rehash these. My entry level would be 64.64 based off of an adjustment. My stop loss would be 61.94, and my take profit would be back at the range, which would be 69.8. So that's just something to keep in mind. Those aren't necessarily those aren't harsh numbers. Those aren't necessarily to take super literally. Please adjust them to your comfort level, and don't trade off of my intuition per se. So this is kind of what I see. This could rip up and not even touch down. Or it could go all the way up and then reject. So it could do various things. So just keep that in mind. But the ARN consolidation on the bear side makes me think that we're going to go down first. Other than that, it's really it. I did not actually think. I thought that we would go down lower immediately, and we haven't. So that's another key thing. If we go down to that entry I just mentioned and we blow through it, then that means we're going to go back down to 55 cents. So this is a little more complicated than I expected originally. But overall, this is a pretty good, this is still a fade in my opinion. So I'm still looking at downside price action more than upside. But we'll see. All right, so I'm skipping Binance Coin and Dogecoin for now because I'm going to cover them in the market updates, the mini market updates, and they're really not doing much, especially Binance. I think I might just take it off the list temporarily. Famous last words, right? So I'm going to go into some altcoins. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 alts to cover. And one of them, I believe, is on our list. Yeah, ALGO. The other 4 are not. So we're going to just kind of go over them. HBAR is the first one. And we've talked about most of these, I think, except for maybe one. So we're going to kind of go into that. We got the big impulse here from HBAR. I still think that we're going to go down to the 5.7 cent range. I don't see any reason why we should not. Overall, here's a previous order block. If we do a fib block on that, it makes our resistance at 6.49 cents. So which is basically close to where we rejected at 6.40. So I think overall, in fact, if you adjust this with the wicks, it might even touch that. So, no, it didn't. Actually, it was worse. So anyway, I still think that we can go down to 56.9, but this still isn't that bad. You probably could enter here for a more conservative long and be okay, and that would probably look something like entry level at 6 right here. If we did that, I'd put that below the trend, which would be about a 16% underwater stop at about 5.0 even. And then if you target the top of the range, it's only 1.2, so it's not very high. But if you're confident in HBAR, like most people are, you could target the highs of the local range in the Butte. An R of 3, double your risk if you'd like to. That's how that kind of works. Overall, doesn't look too bad. It made a major SR flip, and that's the most important thing that you should consider. And when you get these major flips like that, I'm okay adding risk. I think this is much safer and easier than focusing on speculative coins. And that's the thing. Like, I know we talked about Moon, and Moon is doing very well. But there's always going to be a coin that does well like that. And it is a coin that's probably, I don't know why it's gone up so high, and it doesn't have to have a reason. I'm a big fan of not having any particular reason, focusing on the charts. That being said, the more lower you go on market cap, the more you can be more susceptible to gambling, because you want that dopamine drip. Like, you want to see that 50%, 100%, price P&L on CoinGecko or whatever. But the only price that matters is the number of your portfolio at the end of the day. And so as long as that number is going up, who gives a crap about the other numbers? So that's what I'm saying. Like, and so for not to use Moon as an example, but I mean it's the most common example for our Discord right now. If you put $100 into Moon a month ago, you'd have $400. But if you had, if you had a if you had $200 at Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, you'd have the same amount. So see what I'm saying? Like you maybe you put a little bit more money into it. You put more money into Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, but then that's all you did. Like let's say January 1st, or I think 3rd was the beginning of the fiscal year. Like you dump $200 on, you buy Bitcoin, you look now you're at 400 almost, and you're probably a little less than that. But the thing is, you bought it like 7-8 months ago, and then you forgot about it, and you made just as much money as something that went up 4x. See what I'm saying? So I'm not saying you should always do that, and there's different rules and different ways to apply that, right? But the thing is, I focus on the easier trades and increase my risk even more so, and that leads to being more boring. I admit that, but that's okay. At the end of the day, the portfolio that's in my bank and in my wallets, there's what's important to me. That helps me and my wife go out. I mean, we just went on a 2-month vacation because of this. And so that's how that plays out. I'm focusing on things like that, getting real estate, buying properties, business stuff versus a green number on CoinGecko. So anyway, so I diverge a little bit, but that's HBAR. This is kind of the setup I see. I like that. I think it could go a little bit lower. I think it probably can go down to about 5.7. So, or even right here where this little impulse move was at 5.83. So that's HBAR. All right, OP was another one that we talked about. I'm not sure if I talked about it in the chart request, but I'm pretty sure I talked about this in the Discord. We got that rejection that I was looking at, and we broke down the RSI 50. So this could be a precursor to what a lot of other alts do. Solana has done this. Ethereum may do this. And so we have that wedge. And when a wedge breaks like that, that's very unfortunate. But this is a fantastic long, or a fantastic short position, I should say. And technically, we should have already longed it. And in fact, it's already 3 hours into it. But this is your key. This is why I mentioned these wedges. Once they break hard. They should break hard. And if they do, it's good money. And it's easy money. So like I said, like you can make some good money doing things the easy way. So this would have been your stop at the top of the other candle. So your stop loss would have been 4.4. And right now you have an R gained of about 1, but I think it could probably go down to here, which is about 2.4. And that here number is 1.44 for those listening at home. So that's what I see. I think that looks good. I think it's going to continue there, and it's pretty much already halfway there. Other than that, like I wanted to focus on OP because this is a good example for 1 and 2. It's playing out right now, and this is something that we have talked about looking at. And so probably one of my favorite coins pattern-wise to look at in the video. Another one I like is RSR. This is an older one that some of you guys may not have known about, but I like this coin because we've had some moves on here getting ready to go for a breakout here. So this is where my adjust would be. There's the impulse there. And let's see, where's the price? They always hide that price tool. So based off of the impulse, again, it was a 13%. So this is very similar to RP or OP, I'm sorry, but on the opposite. This was the bullish move up. So if you inverse this, it's the same as OP, right? So that's why you want to focus on these big trend lines because they do matter. They do have a lasting effect. So overall, here's your big Fibonacci order. We're right at the midline, so I would probably not long this just yet. I would wait for that flip. And so if I set up my long position, you could even target below the other side, which would give you a stop loss about 21%. And you could target up above, which is about an R value of 3, where the take profit is 3.7. So that's one of my ideas. And if you guys have noticed, there's patterns, right? There's trends, there's levels. You work level to level, and you just play them out. So again, these are very safe trades. I'm not I don't feel like I'm gambling when I mention these things. So anyway, I like RSR a lot. And so that's one thing. I don't know how it'll perform. It could be a dead coin. I don't know. I haven't really like read up on it lately, but this looks good from a liquidity and trading perspective. All right, another coin that we looked at was Chainlink. I mentioned this in the Discord, and we're kind of going above here. We're kind of stopping temporarily for the last 4 hour candle, but this looks pretty good. I could tell, even though we get a big wick like this, this is worth kind of making a pit stop. When you get a big wick like this, that doesn't mean the price action is over. There's a big misconception about that, and typically that's not the case. You saw it even here. Like, yeah, you're going to get big wicks on the top side, of course, but not every wick is going to be a top side. People think about that backwards, right? Because we had a wick right here at the lows in July 26th. We had two big wicks here at the lows at August 4th. Now we have a big wick here right around the mid. And so these wicks happen very often. Here's another one that happened at the highs in July 12th, and 3 days later it impulsed for probably 40%. Let me see here. No, 15%. I was way off. I apologize. My math is not good today. So anyway, this wick here looks not convincing to me, and my rules dictate that I should stay in this. So I still think that this could go up. If this goes to 8.03, I think I would probably set a trailing stop. But that's about it. All right, and last but certainly not least is ALGO. This is a coin that I talked about. This is a coin that we are currently in, and I can't seem to find the chart. So let me see. Did I pick the wrong one? I did. That's what it was. I picked the wrong exchange. So we're slightly underwater. Nothing overly impressive. We're still above the 50, so that's good. We had an A-rune bullish cross. Now we're going into a bearish consolidation if it closes like this by the end of the day. Everything looks good to me. There's no rhyme or reason to change position here, and a lot of people do this too. Not much to say about algo, but I will say, like, some people do tend to just close the positions if nothing's happening, and I think that that's really dumb, honestly, because what's changed? Nothing has changed at all. It's not gonna go down necessarily because nothing has really changed. In fact, historically, when we're at our lows, boring price action is a bullish thing. So again, it goes back to that dopamine drip that I talked about, right? People want to just always have a fix, and you got to master that fix. Otherwise, it'll master you in some shape or form. You'll be here for 10 years and you'll be broke or whatever. So anyway, algo still looks pretty good. Nothing really much to change. I still think it can go up. You got that wick that I discussed on Link just a while ago, where that's not a sign that things are going to go down. It's just a sign that there is interest in the supply, and the supply is currently rejecting, but that doesn't mean it will reject. It just has to kind of feel it out. So, but anyway, that's algo. That's the rest of them. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. I'll send a link out, and I'll see you next time. I'll see you tomorrow, or tonight actually, for the mini market update. Cheers.